And guess what? We are live. It is We the Motherhood. We are live. Hey, what do we always like to start with? We want to first take ourselves onto Facebook, right? So that we can share our stream with everyone. So what we're going to do is, okay, thank you, LaJoy. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to first go out while we make an adjustment. And then so everybody take the time to stream this out onto your networks. Make sure folks know where we are. We're streaming live from the Citizen Ed platform Facebook page. So let's take a few minutes to start those watch parties and let folks know what we're talking about tonight. We want to encourage as much participation as we possibly can. All right. Hey, Brittany's here. Yay. I see you, Brittany. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. All right, let's take a little Facebook setup time. All right, so how's everybody doing on this wonderful Friday night? First Friday in the month of March. March is also Women's History Month, and what better way to celebrate than discussing motherhood? Now, everybody got their stream up?
Yeah. Mother, can I just have one request?
We got you. We got you. All right, so Nakia, are you on Facebook?
Yeah, I am on Facebook, and so
right, go look up. Go search on the Citizen Ed page. So everybody would do go to the Citizen Ed page, which is a public page. You can actually find our video right now happening, and once you find our video right now happening, you will just pop that right on over and share it onto your page. Tag whoever you want to join us and take a look today. Tag them, whatever you need to do. All right. Where did she wait? Uh-oh, we lost a mother.
I don't know what I'm doing. Come here, Sissy, go and help me. You know how I do this stuff. That's just
all right. Momming in real time.
Listen, this is my little sister, y'all. So I guess I'm like her too, right? I'm trying to get there. I don't know what it's talking about. Oh, please be said. It would be me not to know.
What do you have to put in on the thing? It says
all right.
And she said, "Go to Sister Ed."
All right, here we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get us started. And so we have a surprise.
Okay.
And guess what? We do own the rights to this music.
Share it.
This song that is about to be shared. This beautiful song. I am so inspired and encouraged. It is so timely. It's by the one and only Chioma Oru. Sister.
Thank you.
Chioma, you bless us with the opening song. Are you frozen? Uh-oh. Well, all right, we'll have an opening song from Chioma shortly. Maybe Mercury still is in retrograde. Okay, so all right. So we'll wait for Chioma to come back. So LaJoy, earlier this week you shared with us a really here's Chioma. She's back. Okay, she's back. Chioma, did you hear our amazing introduction that we do on the rights to this music?
I was lost in cyberland. My internet just went berserk just now.
Oh no. So we were getting ready to. So tell me something. Are you ready to perform?
All right. Yes. I think
you're ready. I said that I've learned about your this. First of all, I know you have this talent as a writer, as a poet. Now I know you are a songwriter. I was ready to take this thing straight to iTunes as soon as I heard it. East Perry, if you're listening, I got a hot one for you. And we're ready to go. And so, but this song really resonated with me. It's so timely, given that it's Women's History Month and just the power of who we are as a collective motherhood. So, so I would love, sister, if you will open us with your beautiful, handwritten, hand-composed piece of music. We do own the rights to this music. We do own the rights to this music. Thank you.
I will preface it saying that I am not a songwriter, neither am I a singer, but song comes through me from time to time, and it did about a decade ago when I wrote this song. So bear with me. Just get into the words because I'm a poet more than I am a songwriter or a singer. But okay, all that, here we go. All right. It's called the butterfly, right? In the chrysalis of my abyss, I can see bliss and kiss the tears from my heart. In art form, I must be strong, for not long are the answers. They're dancing like the movement, enchanting. I'm a butterfly. I'm gliding high. I'm a butterfly. Each time I die, I am born again, renewed afresh. Each breath I take restores the earth. I am moving and grooving to a new song. For not long are the answers. They're dancing like the movement, enchanting. I'm a butterfly. I'm gliding high. I am a butterfly. I fly and fly. Metamorphosis is my checklist. I can tell you more if you insist. Yet the truth is, my youth is quickly passing and dashing to a new place. A new song, I can see grace grow in my face. I'm a butterfly, gliding high. I'm a butterfly. That's it.
Yes.
Nice.
So I'm just saying, listen, Elise Perry, if you hear this, when you catch this, call us. We got it. We got a hit here. We got a hit. Thank you so much. So moving on, LaJoy, earlier this week, you had shared with us a really inspiring message that came into you from our guest, Teresa Williams, about motherhood and Women's History Month. And I said we should share this. We should share this at the beginning of the conversation tonight. So, do you have that handy? Would you like to share that message?
Yes, I have it handy. Everyone, say hello to Gmail. Come through Gmail. Okay. You can just type that thing in real quick and it's going to be right there. It's going to be, yep, and there it is. Boom. What's up, you guys? Welcome to We the Motherhood. So honored to be here with all the mothers. I just feel weird. I feel like we should introduce ourselves first. I don't know. I feel some type of way before we open. But okay, Mother Michelle. Do you want me to read the whole thing?
You think someone doesn't know who you are?
I meant all of you. I'm just saying. Ha ha ha. Why are we playing with motherhood today? I meant all of us. But you guys, the beautiful Teresa, she's to wait, what is this? I don't know, the left, the right. Y'all know who we are. Anyway, left, right. Teresa Williams, she's amazing, you guys. And she said, and this is the email. So instead of saying hello, LaJoy, I'm going to say hello to all the mothers. Hello, mothers. The month of March is Women's History Month, a time of recognizing the accomplishments of women. I want to take the time to acknowledge, recognize, and honor motherhood. Momming is important work. Actually, I see it as the fundamental foundation of all history. Someone underline that. All history. Dear America, you're welcome. It's overlooked, underpaid, and undervalued by many. It seems endless: cleaning, cooking, shopping, caring for the needs of kids and others, and working outside of the home for some. You make it look easy, but the motherhood circle knows the fact of the matter is that sometimes you're striving and other times you're thriving, but you always show up. You are a motherhood hero. You are courageous, resilient, and full of life. This month, today, and always, celebrate, not yourself. Celebrate yourself. Love, Teresa. And I just thought that was so beautiful. Thank you, Teresa, for sharing that. I had to share. We celebrate the mothers.
I'm glad you shared that. That was great. I think I said, Pia, shared this with somebody.
You did.
Good, because I mean,
well, she shared it with somebodies.
That's
now.
Wonderful. I'm glad you did. Yes.
And here you are with us tonight. So, Teresa, you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about your work?
Yeah, I am a parent empowerment coach. And what that means is I work with parents for current parenting challenges, or also going back to themselves as personal development within parents. Because what I've found through the last 14 years of this is parents come to me for their current challenges they may be having with their child, but really the root is in the parent. So it's kind of difficult to teach maybe communication or how you want your child to be when that was never in you. And so the root is we go back to influences and we look at how you've been influenced and really clarify where you are right now, where do you want to be, and then we get a plan in between to execute it for not just your child, but also you. And prior to this, I was an educator for 17 years, which is how I fell into parent coaching. My parent teacher conferences ended up not being about the child at all. It always went to parenting in the home. And so just basic conversations and creating community with parents. I didn't even know that there was such a thing as parent coaching. Like I ran into an article through another organization I was in, and they were talking about parent coaches. And I was like, hold up. I do this. This is what I do. But I wasn't being paid, of course. I was just doing it to help parents, change legacies, change generations. And so I kind of moved into that field. And so that's what I do.
That's excellent. And I had the pleasure of facilitating a session on self-care and various topics of how to get order. I told LaJoy that I really challenged her to keep up with her commitment that she made. But it was really a great opportunity. But thank you for joining us. Our topic today is Yolanda's favorite. Is really this. We talk what has come up over the course of the last, I don't know, this is our 9th show, so we started last June, and what has consistently come up is these feelings of trauma associated with navigating our children. Now, just for context, those that are listening, yes, we are all mothers. This is the motherhood, but our specific niche as mothers is in disability, right? We all have children with disabilities. We all are disability advocates. We have all been on the front lines of the fight. We have all spent countless hours crying, being frustrated, being angry. And what we have found is that we are not alone in that. We are not alone in feeling as if that we're being pinned and pegged as angry Black mothers, specifically Black, right? Because we know that we aren't the only parents who fight for our children, but we do feel like when we fight for our children, there is this other stigma that gets attached to us. And we've had incidents where parents have been barred from schools because they just want to stand up for their children. We have an incident where maybe someone was ejected from the courtroom and unable to stand. And when these things happen, we're unable to stand for our children. But what we want to do is we want to take a moment right now to redefine what it means to be a fighting mother. And it was during one of the conversations we had back at a Bright Beam called, Zakia referred to our passion as righteous indignation, right? She's like, it's righteous indignation, so it is frustration and it is anger, but it is righteous indignation. It is who we are. We show up for our children, and as soon as we fight, it's as if everybody else wants to fight back. There is no, oh my goodness, this mom's upset. Let's demonstrate some compassion to make sure that she doesn't feel that way, so that she knows that we want to protect and support her children. So we have some stories to share today. We have with us 3 guests in the room. In addition to Teresa, we have Nikia Braxton, who is a mom that I met through AJE, Advocates for Justice and Education. We are parent ambassadors in the Early Intervention Cafe Circle together. But the first day when she introduced herself, I said, that's a fighting mother right there. I quick sent her a chat real quick. Say, I need to know you. Can we get together? Can we have? I want to know more about you and your work and your fight. And through that, I also met Rashonda Hiley Thomas, who is a mother first of a mother just like us. But every time I see her, I can't help but think my boss is there. But Rashonda is also with Advocates for Justice and Education and has been doing the work for a long time. And I've heard her speak in the capacity of community member and parent. And I just know that she has some powerful stories to share of her own. And so she's with us today. And then Cheryl Kay, who is an attorney, who is a representative of a mom that I spoke with recently who shared her story with me. Her name is Denise Matheny. She couldn't be with us today, but her story, Miss Matheny's story, when she told me, it's just really, one, it reminded me why we do this work as We the Motherhood, because she needed to know that she wasn't the only person who had been treated the way she treated, and that had been treated, and that her feelings were very, very real. And so Cheryl and I will try to do justice to the story, because it demonstrates that, where our treatment begins and ends. It's not just at the principal level or the teacher level. It's not just at the headquarters level. It actually happens in the courtroom too. And at the end of the day, if you don't have the wherewithal to really push through this, there is a hard path to find justice. And the number of times that we've all had to qualify when speaking with a parent who was entering this stratosphere to say it's going to be hard and you're going to be angry. We should never have to preface. So I want to, though, before we really get into the conversation, I really want this. I always say this is Yolanda's favorite subject, because she actually was one of the first mothers who shared a story about feeling that way. I've told people that I've had the little security people at the school come and escort me out, and I knew that at a point I couldn't speak for myself anymore, because I just was too angry. They tried me, and I couldn't hold it together, because I will stand in your face and say, you will not put my son in your little prison pipeline. Never. You can't have my son. So Yolanda, I want to pass the mic to you and let you sort of open up a little bit, and then we're gonna have Nikia share her story, and hopefully our friends in the Facebook land will join us in the conversation and pose some questions or commentary that will expand the dialogue.
Thank you, Michelle. I am can y'all hear me? Because, essential internet here. I say it all the time, because you got to let people know. I can blink out just like that and I'll be back. I promise you. But I am super excited to talk about a touchy subject. You know, I am a natural born agitator for those who believe in zodiac sign of Aries. So, you know, it's my thing. It's my jam. It's what I do. But, you know, I don't like being the one that's agitated. So this is why it has rested on my heart. I found myself in situations of like, one, I advocated for my son who has autism. He's now 14 years old. And although our battle is not over, it's far from over. It is a lot better than what it started off as. We started our journey with getting him the supports that he needed when he was in kindergarten. Although he was diagnosed coming out of childcare, the CDC, when we entered into the charter school realm, into kindergarten, you know, my assumption as a first-time parent, and then also a parent who now has a child with disability that I've never heard of one, and never knew anybody personally in my family or other who had dealt in these situations. So I really was in a place of like humbleness, of really relying on people who call themselves specialists, to guide me towards what my child would best need. And I found that, you know, they were good with my ignorance until I didn't become ignorant anymore. It wasn't until I started educating myself alongside them that I started to become a problem. And, you know, which really baffled me because I would think that, you know, with all of this parent engagement and how can we connect families with school talk that we've had for years and years and years. Like I said, my son is 14 now. So this is 14 years of being told that we are partners and we're this and we're that and we're working together. But as soon as I educate myself about what my legal rights are for not just me as a parent representative, but also my child's legal rights, then I became an adversary. And, you know, it was really perplexing to me when we talk about the angry Black woman. You know, there's this perception that you're just coming in ready to fight and you know that you're just ready to give them. I mean, let's go with the attributes. We're gonna talk about angry Black women. We're gonna talk about it. Like they look for the neck rolls, they look for the eye rolls, they look for the snapping of the fingers and all that other stuff. But you know, we don't always have to. We don't start there. That's the whole thing. We don't start there. And my argument also is that we're justified in that. Am I an angry Black woman? You're absolutely right. And I can tell you why, but we have several other women that can give you their stories tonight, and then I'll add my thoughts to it. So I'm excited. I hope that the audience joins us tonight, and I'm kicking it back to Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you. It's, Sherry Lucas Ross made a comment that said, she said, sorry, Cheryl, but that when white moms get angry, it's perceived as activism. And when Black moms get angry, it is not perceived that way. And so at some point, I'd like to investigate in this dialogue if we think that's true. And so, but she said, sorry, I guess because you are our honorary white friend today.
I understand the racial inequalities in America. I work with the majority of my clients are Black and brown children, so no offense taken.
We appreciate your alliance, Cheryl. We truly do. I know you're out there fighting for our families, and I know how angry it actually has made you over time. So I'm looking forward to opening that up. But let's start with Nakia. Nakia, as I indicated, the first day we were having our AJE training, and you introduced yourself, the dynamic, professional businesswoman that you are. But I said she fight, but in a way that I want to know how she does it, what she's done, who she knows, because I know I'm still fighting for my son all the time. And I'm still trying to learn what are the best, most efficient ways to do so. So Nakia, I know there are pieces of your journey that you can't readily share, but based on what you can share, you know, tell us what happened to you.
Well, first of all, I want to say hi to all you ladies. Hello, and to all the mothers that are out there. Thank y'all for being here, because I know it was a fight to be here tonight. Some of us have had so many things going on throughout the day. I mean, I commend everybody that's here at 7:30 on a Friday night. That's a fight right there. Man, there's so much I can tell you. Come here. Look. First of all, I want y'all to see my why. This right here is Kalani. Say hi.
Hi.
She is a young woman, a young queen. It's my little princess right here. And so, yeah, sure. So my children, I feel all of us mothers out here, there's nothing you won't do. There's nothing you won't do for your child. And I feel sometimes that women, I don't care what kind of woman you're, Black, white, Asian, when you're educated, you become powerful because you know, and then you become a threat, right? When you know too much, hold on, wait a minute. She just not sitting back, not saying nothing. She not just taking the tea. She asking the questions, and so I think many of us get mistaken as angry, right? When really we just fed up with you thinking that we stupid, right? And we don't know what to do, and that's kind of, I don't know, when you say to tell my story, well, my story started many years ago. Originally I'm from Chicago, but I grew up here in the Washington, D.C. area. And I had two parallel worlds. I had mama's side, who was from the streets. I had crackheads in my family, drug dealers. And then I had the blacker side, the Black elites. Everybody was a lawyer, doctor, teacher. And it was two different parallels, two different worlds. So having to stand out when you come from nothing, right? I don't know how my mama did it. Everything always seemed like we was living like the best lives, the biggest houses, but it's always was a struggle. It's always a struggle. And for myself as a single Black mother, it ain't always been so easy. It ain't always been so easy. But I have a determination. When you say where to start, well, it started first with my mother. It started first back with, like what Teresa said, at home, getting the proper foundation and the training and the parenthood and the education. So at the end of the day, the education is the streamline. That's what connects all us women here today. It connects us all together today because we want to have that equal access. We want for our children to have a fair chance, a starting chance, a fighting chance, not to go through the perils that we went through. You can see behind me all kind of accolades and awards and things. It took time to get there. Many people said I couldn't, and I did. And I always been a person to stand up for those that don't have a voice or just couldn't do it for themselves. And so my journey started really a long time ago, before I even had children. So when my children became subjected to injustice, they had the right mother, to hold them accountable. And so that's what I did. I held people accountable. I wouldn't allow people just to tell me, oh, no, your son is just bouncing off the walls, acting crazy for no reason, coming home with marks on his body. What do you mean? I see him in the love and the flesh. Oh, you tried it. That's what they do. They want you to play a position, especially when we're in this world. And as myself, as a woman who has multiple business and things of that nature, I come bringing service to any person that I meet. Just maybe it's a way of training, right? To serve others and to work in your community, to build in your community, especially when you have children, to build within the education realm, right? You start networking and meeting individuals, and you start rubbing elbows, and people start becoming your associates. And so this is what happened with my children. I was very well connected, very much a support to help uplift the communities that my children were in. And when things started happening to my kids, I guess they assumed I was going to turn a blind eye, and I did not. And when I started to ask questions and hold them accountable, thinking that the things that we've been taught about justice would actually prevail in this land for us, I was soon to realize that it was just another lie. And so I began to press, because I knew that at the end of the day, right is right and wrong is wrong. And see, I'm a woman of faith. I'm a strong woman of faith. And so I knew that when these people were telling me, oh, these teachers have the ability to do whatever it is they want to do, and I can't hold them accountable because definitions in the law don't mirror exactly what's happening, I knew right then and there that change needed to be made, that people needed to understand their processes and their systems. And so I began to hold people accountable. And as I did, I was a threat. I was a threat. People liked me. People loved me. People were following behind me. And so they decided to bar me from the same institution that I helped, because I was asking them questions, same questions you asked, you know. And so I have so much for y'all to share tonight. So I don't want to overrun, but I definitely want to give you a little tidbit, and we can kind of bounce things off. But that's how my journey began. You know, we could kind of get into some specifics of certain things that I can divulge tonight, but I'm definitely honored to be here. Thank you guys for inviting me. Absolutely. Because it is a fight. It's a constant fight. It's a fight every day. You know, I'm in a very high polar industry in finances, and real estate, and coaching, you know. So, you know, I had a conversation today actually with a good mentor of mine who was like, you know, there's never been an African-American woman managing partner at that company. I was like, you know, they're right. There hasn't, you know, and there's still these barriers. So on and off the field, everywhere we look, you know, we as mothers, for our kids, for ourselves, you know, have to stand as examples for the other young women that are watching out there, you know. So thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nakia. You know, I'm imagining that the experience you had when you started getting all that pushback and barring that impacted your ability to participate in your child's education, I'm imagining.
Yes. Oh man, that was difficult. I mean, to sit up there and know that, hold on, wait a minute, I got to send them back to the same institution where they're being harmed at, and I can't even go with them. But then if I keep them home, then the law's going to hold me accountable. Nah, there's something wrong with that. But you know, that's the reason why people need to really focus more so on the elections that happen 2 years after the president gets voted into office. You know, those is what we're supposed to focus on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that make laws. Congress.
It seems like an interesting little design, right?
Right.
Where you fight for your children, they don't like it, so they use the worst power that they have by barring a parent or making it difficult for you. Even in some cases, sending children to schools that are far from home, and they give you a bus, but it still makes it almost impossible for you as a parent to participate. The inability to participate in your child's education is it's too common. You know, they think that because of the way that fate allows for a non-Cadillac, you know, you can give me a half functioning hoopty type education as long as you make it accessible, if you will, like in terms of you give me transportation and all these different things, you know. But if I can't participate, you know, it just seems like that is I don't know. Chilma, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So a couple of things, right, like came to my mind. Nellie Fuller, who was kind of like a street scholar, but he but laid down, I think, important works, I think, along the Black nationalist frame of thinking. He said that, you know, if you don't understand white supremacy, anything else you experience will confuse you, right? There's that one thing, right? Like that it's a setup, right? Like in terms of like how we show up to the system before we even get to the policy and the legislation and what is and what could be. And, you know, there is the reality, this social contract that we are bound to always be the objects, not the subjects of our experience. So we can't show up authentically as we are to get what we need. That's how we show up to them. No matter if you are, you know, attorney Rashonda Hiley Thomas, right? Or Dr. Chioma Oru, or, you know, Mother, you know, Supreme Michelle, whoever we are and however we show up as the mother in the position in society, no matter that we're showing up as Black mothers, right? We're showing up as Black women. We're showing up as Black, as descendants of Africa. And there's a whole lot of history behind what that means when we open our mouths saying anything at all, in any way, in any form, in any capacity. And then there's the reality, of course, of patriarchy, that we're women, and that even in their framework, even in the Eurocentric patriarchal understanding, we're nothing anyways, even if we achieved whiteness, right? And whatever that may mean. Right. So it complicates itself, but it's actually quite simple. And then the protections is there in the law. Like, the law doesn't change the hearts and minds of people. It doesn't rewrite history. It just helps to try and create some levels of reform, right? When what we truly need is revolution. So it's a strategic end and a strategic gain to an ultimate quest where we cannot only apply through one singular lens, but we better work it out, right? We better work it out. We better know everything we can know to protect ourselves in every way we can protect ourselves, no matter what, right? So I'm hearing that, I'm seeing that, and we're doing that subconsciously. Like, I don't have to organize you to that reality. Like, you do it instinctively. I fight to the death in everything I do because I'm a Black mother, and I know what that means for my family, right? And we do that. At the same, so, but then we do have these protections that we can finesse it. We can be smoother. We can be slicker. We can be more strategic. We can understand the rules of the games that they play. We can speak in the language that they understand, right? To get to this place where we can have true power, legitimate power, to exercise who we are. I do think, I want to say this last thing about the righteous anger. I agree, like, we are righteous in our anger, but I do also want to put out this saying that somebody pointed out to me years ago, that anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Right? That's so true.
That ultimately, that the heat in our body takes us out of our femininity, takes us out of our power, takes us out of the place in which we can win. So we also have our personal work to do, to learn how to self-regulate, to learn how to hold still, to learn how to really apply that emotional intelligence strategically for victory. So I can't pop off every time I want to. I have to learn how to show up as a winner, and you will always see me victorious no matter what, because I trained to be that way for my family, for my people, for my community, for my sisters, right? For my brothers, for my sons, for my uncles, for my fathers, right? Like, those are the reality of who we are, and we carry a lot. And I know we don't want to carry that weight, but it's who we are. And that is why in my language we say, Nneka, mother is supreme. We earn that. It is a rank. It is a rank and station in society. That's who we are. And we have to have the highest discipline, and that is on us.
I love that you said that, and I agree with you 100%, because it really is a mental flexibility and a personal challenge. Am I strong or am I weak? Because sometimes our silence can be so much louder, because sometimes when you want to rage, you have to stand still to play at their game, at their level, especially if you want there to be change. Because you're absolutely right. Because if I would have went in, beating down the walls, breaking everything, feeling how I felt, to give to them what I felt that they deserved, there would be no point. There would be no victory. There would be no eradication for my children, And I think it's so important to understand that always anger is not always loud. It's not. And sometimes people think and use anger the wrong way, but you got to really self-direct that, into power. You take that energy and you harness that, and then you push it back out. You hold people accountable, and so it takes a lot of strength to stand and hold your head up high and move in excellence, even when you want to sit there and rage out and just go bananas. Right. You know what I mean? So I definitely understand that. It does come from our heritage. It absolutely does come from our heritage. And there's a lot of things that need to be exact on so many levels for our children. And I really feel it comes down to that education always, that access to that quality education. And like Teresa said, I can't stress it no more, no less. It starts at home. It really starts at home. And some of us parents, like us parents that do know, we need to be able to reach out to the parents that don't know and share what it takes to get through those nights, to share what it means to cry inside, you know, to hold your head high, to give your children dignity, to have something to stand up to, you know, in despite of the enemy, because they see them every single day.
Right.
You know, and it, you know, a lot of people try to pretend, you know, everything is gravy, but it's not. It's not. Things are not equal in this world. And so we need to stop trying to put band-aids over things and exposing things for what they really are, holding people accountable.
True. Can I comment on what you just said about emotional intelligence?
Yes.
That is so important. And our parents, or the parents that I work with, didn't know. I am not the mom of a disabled or a child with disabilities, but I was an educator and I was the advocate for parents who couldn't be there. In my classroom, we had an autism unit on our campus. So I had the opportunity to serve our autism students when they were able to come into the classroom. And so what I found is when what should have been done was not, just call me Harriet Tubman, because I'm gonna let the parent know. So, you know, I let them know this happened, it should not have, this is what you need. So it's unfortunate, but many of Black moms, they don't know. They don't have the education. It's like one of you mentioned, you're expecting the expert in the classroom to do what they're supposed to do, and they don't. But when I found, when I would slip them that information, this is what you need, this is what you need to say, this is who you asked for. Don't talk to this person, talk to this one. They came in blazing. And when you come in blazing, they call the police now. You know, campuses have police that are right around the corner. So then whenever you call or whenever you're going to come up, there's going to be a policeman there. And so I started teaching and it was my Black parents and my Hispanic parents, so Black and brown, about emotional intelligence. They weren't aware of how to regulate their emotions because that's not something we're taught. We don't learn that we have these different emotions, and anger isn't bad. It's an emotion. You have the right to feel angry. However, you got to regulate it before you come conduct the business for your children. And so as I went through this process and work with parents, it was a total shift in what I saw that was happening within our school because parents became armed. And I did notice another thing I wasn't even aware of, that there are education consultants that can come during IEPs. So I was in one and I saw a white parent had one. And so I talked to the person afterwards, like, and how does someone get to work with you? Like, how this happen? And it was a free service. So of course, Underground Railroad, I need you to call this person, you know, you talk to them. So I had to teach them, my parents, how to advocate. They didn't know. But once they learned, and basically I just called it, you got to learn the game. That's what it is. When you learn to play that game using facts and the rules as written, you can begin to get a little more traction without the police waiting there for you. So I just wanted to share that because that's so true about learning to regulate those emotions.
Can I just add, they also, DCPS, once a parent starts fighting for their student, especially once they've filed a due process complaint against DCPS, they'll start doing things like calling CFSA on parents. They will fight so dirty as soon as you start to stand up for your child and say, I'm not taking it anymore. I have it happen all the time where I have to talk to the CFSA investigator and explain this is a retaliatory call that DCPS has made because they are going to be held accountable in court for their neglect of this child. And they do use, I've been with parents taken out by security in IEP meetings before when the parent has done nothing overly volatile, maybe raised her voice, but I've been escorted out by security as well. They will do anything to keep you from having your voice heard.
Wow, that is so crazy. And you know what? That is so true. It makes me think about a situation Oh my God, like you guys are bringing them all kind of memories right now that I didn't even think. I thought that maybe I wasn't affected by them, but they are. But you know what? It is so crazy that you say that. You know, we have this big topic all the time about the police, right? About the police, right? And many of us from this area, we all have a feeling about the police, right? And it's crazy because you think you call them and they're going to come and give you justice and stand in your corner. But you realize that they're working in the same system, the exact same system. And the individuals that are actually responsible for our children, these state actors, are not even upheld to the same laws, to the letter of the law that we are. But they want to call CFS on these parents out here if they pop them and correct them and they love them, but let a state actor do something. It's a whole nother definition and term that they held accountable to. So all I can say is you mothers out there, there's a lot of work to be done, and there are strength in numbers, you know, and people need to come together to help vote, to put the right people in office that look like us, think like us, act like us, so we can start making those type of changes. Because there is a lot of systematic things set into place. And you heard the attorney say it herself. You know, I done walked in those shoes and I done seen it, and it's horrible. It's horrible when you constantly call those who are supposed to protect you, but I never agreed for them to protect me, but that's another story for another whole day. And they do the counter effect. It blows me away. It blows me completely away, you know. So I'm thankful for this motherhood, for all you women up here, for all you women up here that paved the way for us other women to be able to stand, and we can reach back out to our sisters, cousins, friends, whoever. Come on, get your stories out here. Let's do something together.
Yeah, you know, I've had the unfortunate experience of the retaliatory CFSA complaint when my son was in daycare. We made a complaint, and I didn't know that the complaint would turn into investigations and visits. And then next thing you know, we received a complaint. And as soon as I heard this, I said, I asked, when did you get this? And the lady's, why I can't tell you. I said, who sent it? And she's, why I can't tell you that. I said, well, let me tell you this. This is what I just did. This is what just happened. So my guess is that a few days later, even after my removal of my son from this program, you received this complaint. And she said, you know, eventually she confessed that she believed it was retaliatory. And it was so frustrating when in my mind, I think about, you know, places that she really needed to be. And she didn't need to be opening and closing the case with me. But while I had her, I said, well, you got some resources? You want to give me a list of things? Because I was in the early intervention stages with my son, and I didn't know what to do. Was on a long waiting list. I have private insurance, and it's not very easy always to get to the right medical assistance through private insurance timely. So I was just waiting, and I didn't know what to do. So I thought, well, maybe if CFSA is here, somebody got something on the list for me. So what you got? They didn't have nothing. But anyway, I experienced that, and I realized that there was no nothing about my background, my education, my career, my experience, or my connections was going to change it for me, because at the end of the day, I was a Black mom of a student who is, in my opinion, a Black boy who is essentially their number one candidate for their prison beds, right? And so there's no real, once they know and define him in this way, there's nothing that will encourage them to help him change except for me, right? And so, but this was an interesting segue into to the conversation, because everyone said, oh, Rashonda needs to break this down. Now, Rashonda is speaking with us in the capacity of herself as a mom with experience on both sides, but is a professional in the industry, and can break it down. And I want to just say that one of the things that I've seen in the chat is that, you know, the trauma. Yes, the trauma. You know, and the reality is, just like Nakia got triggered because it started to remind her of things that she had not remembered recently. you just don't forget it. You just don't forget the way someone treated your baby and then treated you when you tried to stand in the gap for them. You just don't forget that. And it's hurtful. And I am one of those people who unfortunately hasn't really eradicated all my brand of petty. And so every now and then I feel like I just want to get on some get back, right? I want to prove to them that they made a huge mistake in the way they treated me and my son. But Rashonda, what you think?
Oh, I've had a lot of thoughts hearing you all speak, and things that Chioma said that resonated talking about the regulation. But one of the things I thought about, because I know it was about the myth of the angry Black woman, is about shifting the narrative. That it's really not about us, but how the personnel at schools treat parents, and particularly Black parents, who are fighting for their children. It's like, why isn't it viewed that, oh, those, that school is very unempathetic, or that school lacks compassion, that school is not reaching out to help support a parent. One of the things that came to mind, and especially with my journey, I have to say I was lucky in the sense that I was already a lawyer practicing in the area of special education law when I began my journey with my son, who is now 18. He was 2 at the time. And one of the things that I did not see, or what I experienced, and even what I saw in helping other parents go through this process, it's just like a lack of care and compassion and understanding of what it means for a mother to even find out that their child has a disability. Just to stand in that and experience and have some compassion and empathy as to what that must feel like, what that must be like. And then from there, have and be supportive. That I don't see. It really occurs to me as a check the box. This is a process. Oh, you have to do this and that. And for me, being in that experience, I was lucky that I already knew the law and that I had been practicing in this. But that nevertheless did not stop school personnel or administrators. This was before he transitioned into, as he was transitioning into school age services, who told me in a lobby in front of everybody, after I made a decision that I wasn't going to move my child to a public school placement at that time because they took so long. And I didn't want that transition in the middle of the school year for him because it wouldn't be appropriate for him at that time. After I said that I wasn't going to move him, she came out in the lobby and told me, oh, well, if you don't do this, your child's not getting any services at all. And this won't happen and that won't happen. And I was like, well, no, I know that my child can receive some services, if not all, because why? Because I knew the law. And she was like, well, no, that's just not going to happen. And I was like, well, do you have the new regulations? There were new regulations that had just been implemented at that time. And she said, I have them in the back of the room. And I said, well, I have mine right here. And at that moment, that's when she said, oh, well, come to the back of my office. And when I went to the back of the office, she didn't ask me, well, what are you talking about? Or, let's discuss that because I don't know what you're saying. She knew exactly what I was talking about. And what she said to me was, oh, what school does your child go to? Oh, yes, your child can get A, B, C, D services. Now, if I hadn't been trained as a lawyer, probably, and going to your point that you made, Chioma, that would have been a pop-off moment. Because, like, how dare you? But what infuriated me most was not so much about what occurred to me, but what I knew was happening to other families, and other families who weren't in the position that I was in, who didn't have regulations with them or to know, and already in a vulnerable position because you're just learning your child needs services and support, and feeling like, someone's telling you if you don't do A, in your heart as a mom what you need for your child or what your child needs. And somebody's telling you if you don't do this, basically you're a bad mom. You're not going to get your child the services that they need. And so that was a problem. Now, I dealt with that in a legal way because I supported a class action in which I told my story about that instance and the problem with the structure of that system at the time. But the journey doesn't end there. And it's like, it is important what Chioma said about sitting in your, knowing how to be still, understanding the language. But even in those instances, it doesn't stop the feeling that we as parents experience, even if we know we are right. I mean, I had another incident less than a year ago where, my son, the school was attempting to penalize my son for something that was utterly ridiculous, certainly wasn't his fault, and could have potentially led to some liability for the school had he been injured. And I went to standing, speaking the language, coming with my case and saying, no, you're not going to penalize my son for X, and being told, well, yes, we can, and it's not that big of a deal, and etc. And I persisted, and I went back and I repeated myself. By the third time, I was then told, well, I don't want you to get bent out of shape. And in the moment that he said, I don't want you to get bent out of shape, that is the part I could feel the blood rush to my head. But luckily, a student walked in and said something to him. And once that student left, he then said, you know what? Okay, fine. He won't be penalized. That won't be on his record, etc. But even with the knowledge that sometimes it's really hard, because at the end of the day, we are mother bears and we're going to fight for our babies. And when that kicks in, but it is important. I do think that it helps to know what your rights are, what the law is, and how to navigate those systems. And that's, one of the things that we do every day, even in my professional work. But even as a mother, trust me, I still have those, I still have those challenges and pushes. I still feel it internally, but I learn how to direct that. I may talk to somebody else about it. I may vent about it first before I write that email or before I make that phone call to address the situation. But I was just saying that, I really want to go back to shifting the narrative in the conversation to not focus on the behavior of Black women, but how are school personnel showing up when they're engaging with families who are navigating this process that's already a challenge in and of itself, period, as a parent. And really thinking about, I've said in plenty of meetings where school personnel wanted to shut down a parent who's expressing herself because it may not be in the way that is pleasing or comfortable for them. Not rude, not irate, not threatening. And, and I'm there, it's like, no, we're not going to do that. Or, berate the parent or chastise the parent for things that may be happening. No, that's not why we're here. And we're not going to do that. And this parent has a right to speak her truth and to share and bring to the table about her child what you all need to know so that you can make decisions that's going to help that child progress. But I think I said enough. I'm going to stop right there.
I have a question real quick before we pivot for Rashonda, if I could. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just because I heard you say, Rashonda, changing the narrative. And I do think that is a big part of it, changing the narrative, because we don't want to focus on it's just solely the behavior of the Black women, right? But I think of I want to be transformative in that way of being assistive towards making that a reality of changing the narrative. But my lived experience has showed me otherwise. I could think of an instance where there was a white mother who was going through the exact same thing that I was going through. And I sat back and I watched they talked to her with such care, and any concern that she had was met, with the whole team. Meeting her at the doorway, and so much so that it was so much of a partnership that she even ended up landing a job at the school. I was like, well, damn, excuse me, I'm a little hood sometimes, and it really took me back. I was like, we giving out jobs now? That's how compassionate you are. We want to make sure that the mother who is having these challenges, because my story is that I can't meet the demand as a single parent of a child with a disability. And trying to navigate all of these different intersectional spaces that I am as a Black woman and all these other different things that's happening in my life. So I say all that to say, in your mind, how do you envision us beginning shifting the narrative so that we can address the problem as a whole?
Well, I think the first, and Chioma touched on this earlier, and the reality of just the racial inequities and the racial institutions that have been established and the way in which we operate, even as other Black professionals within the school system and carrying out the systemic racial structures that have been put in place and that we've been required to operate in. And so I think that first and foremost, dealing with that as a reality and addressing that head on, the biases that I've seen, the pressure, and this is not just, any white personnel to Black families. I've seen this with other Black personnel, with Black mothers, and it highly irritates me. And it's like, my thing has always been, and I've always demanded this. It's like, no, there has to be an extreme culture shift. How that's going to happen, other than us really preaching it all the time or talking about all the time, it boils down to something as simple as basic customer service, decency, and respect. Period. That's it. Not this feeling like you're doing Black parents a favor because we allow your child to come to school, but for you families, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have a job, and we want to make sure that you're welcome. There are some schools that, do better at it than others. It's not, a uniform thing across the board, but I think that there is, something culture shifts that have to happen. And Chioma also hit it on the head too, was I'm going to be quote Chioma all night, with changing hearts and minds. You can have all the laws, rules, policies, procedures in place, but until you change hearts and minds, that's really not going to have the impact that it's intended to have for our families.
I want to say something really quick about that with the Black personnel, with the Black families being disrespectful. I don't know how much everybody knows about the DCPS attorneys, but they have 4 Black attorneys, all females, and they have 2 white attorneys, 1 male, 1 female. And I get more frustrated with the Black female attorneys because I feel like they should know better. Like, why are you fighting against this child? It like breaks my heart to see, a lot of times I'm like the only white person in the room, and I see these other Black personnel, Black attorneys, Black school officials really acting in ways that I know they wouldn't treat anybody else. And I also want to say, I'm also a mom, and I also have disabled children. And when I fight for them, the person earlier who said that white moms are looked at as like activists, people call me a saint when I fight for my kids. I definitely get treated in a different way than I see the Black mothers that I represent get treated when they fight for their kids. But I also, in DCPS, I get the association as angry as well. And in a hearing I had last week, they testified in the hearing that I was angry during an IEP meeting. And in my closing argument, I used that. I said I was angry, and the mom was angry, and we were tired because for year after year, we've fought for this child, and DCPS continues to neglect him. So sometimes, yes, accept it. I'm angry. We're all angry. And now do something about it. Make it so we don't have to be so angry anymore.
Yeah, I think first I want to acknowledge a comment that came in while Rashonda was speaking from Yamika, that acknowledged the power that AJE has had for us as mothers in the community. Finding AJE was a true life raft for many of us, and I know that I stopped being escorted out of conference rooms after AJE came to my rescue. And for the first time, I felt confident that I could sit back and listen and be led, and that I would be capable of navigating the next steps. But up to that point, I was just a mom out here. And I mean, it's been some rough ones, but some of what, so we want to give a shout out to AJE, who is our local PTI here in Washington, D.C. If you don't know it, you should get to know it. There are trainings on trainings on trainings and opportunities for families to be able learn more about what they may not know yet about navigating the special education landscape here in the district. And she almost said, I'm saying PTI like everybody know what a PTI is. So Parent Training Information Center. Am I correct?
Yes, you are. I would add that
Awesome.
they are authorized under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Every state has at least one. And so we're it for DC. And that's to help. And our role is to provide information, resources, and support, and to help families to be able to navigate the system, make sure they have the tools and information they need so they can make informed decisions about the goals and objectives they have for their children.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been a nice lady ever since I met Stacy. And so I'm okay. I'm doing pretty good. But I have not overcome the trauma, and my petty just creeps up every now and then. But something that before we go into the niece's story, it was something we were talking with Melody last week about universal basic income and some different things, and child protective services, and it reminded me so much of like the history of our Black children being removed from their mothers, right, in America, post the Middle Passage, right. And so I think about the colonialism that is embedded in the education system and structure, and therefore embedded in the way that teachers are taught to teach and administer school policies, procedures, and what have you. And so when I think of that, and we talked about how we experience this from personnel of all races, that we don't experience any unique compassion. And I won't say that from all Black teachers, because I've had one or two who have fallen in love with my son's long eyelashes, and then been so brokenhearted when he says, I am no sheep and I do not what anyone says that I should do except for myself. And so, and they go, oh my God, he won't comply. No, he won't. His mom's no sheep, it is what it is. And so I wondered, like, is the colonialism that is embedded in so deeply rooted, when we talk about beginning to shift the paradigm here, is that the problem? And I know we talked last month about third Reconstruction and whether or not the ground is fertile, and abolitionist theory being in the mainstream conversation and things like that. Is the colonialism that's embedded the desire to remove our children and maintain classism, second class citizenship tree, right? Is that the thing? Chioma, what you think?
Yeah. So absolutely, I was like, yes, pick me.
This is your lane.
Oh, yes. Period. Right? Like, yes, right. Yes. And then the question is, what is colonialism? Right? Like, what is colonialism? Colonialism is that dislocation, right, from your authentic experience to who you would gravitate to and where you would gravitate to define your culture, to define your practices, to define who and how you navigate the world. When we say self-determination, that is a basic principle of human rights that is endorsed by the United Nations, right? Like, that is exactly what is infringed upon. And the reason why the United Nations created that as a mantra was because it existed because of the decolonization process that oppressed people around the world, in the third world, in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America. And then we have to understand it in the United States, right? It is arguable, right, from my discipline, which is political science, that the Black and brown people in the United States, particularly Black people, because we can analyze like the life of indigenous people on reservations and some of the structuring, but there is the concept of the black belt, right? The concept of the internal colonial structure that Black people in the United States, while dislocated from the Caribbean and dislocated from Africa and other places that we may authentically try and understand through study as colonial places, that colonialism truly isn't just about location, right? It is about how you show up in any location and how you show up, how the system responds to you, right? And so then how that shows up in the law. I gotta say, for example, the question of taxation, right? And this is just one example to bring this macro grand theory to practical application, is in that when Europeans, in, let me say for a very specific example, in Eastern Nigeria, where I'm from, right, there were the imposition of taxes by the British. And the British decided they were going to impose taxes as part of the colonial process. Why? Because they understood the power that the indigenous arrangement posed to them not conforming to what the British wanted them to do, which is to, after you already extracted our brothers and sisters and took them to the Middle Passage, then you needed to dominate that land, what they did with the land, if they grew food on the land, if they, whatever came out of that land, they were going to have their piece of it. It's gangsterism, right? It's gangster, right? Like, and they would impose those taxes because, again, from my particular tribe, there was it's historic called the Abba Women's Rebellion. Abba is like a mile from where my grandmothers come from. And so my grandmothers were actively a part of this, where when the British imposed the taxes, because they controlled the market, they controlled the economy of the market, they dislocated them in order to justify owning every piece of every property that they had. The women protested. Right? And it's an abomination when a mother becomes naked. So they did that. But instead of being honored the way they would think it would go down if it was in the indigenous way, they were shot at, they were killed, they were harmed, they were forced into submission. So there's always that military arm that we see that is also coupled with the colonial process, right? The carrot or the stick. You either do it voluntarily or you get zapped, right? And we see that the school to prison pipeline is not just about our children. It is about us too. It is about controlling us, how we show up, including our economy. Truly, honestly, this whole question of, you have to bring your children to school boils down to an economic consideration, right? That they either need your hands free to work when they want you to work, or they need it to control you, which is why truly and honestly, education is a racket in so many ways, right? Because it is colonial in this way. Where the money should move, it doesn't move, right? I was thinking of even just writing a piece about, like, no matter what policies they're putting on the table, it is not solving my problem in terms of, you could talk about distance learning, you could talk about re-entry to school. Like, there are other options here. And the reason why they are not kind of put on the table is because of the colonial aspect of how power is brokered. That is why, even though we asked them to sit with us and plan out with us how they were going to reopen the schools that impact our children, right? They would rather make an error, a mistake. They would rather mess it up so badly. They would rather hire a crisis manager than give us the power to decide how our children are going to coexist in the craziest moment of human history that we have experienced. Right? That is colonialism. We are living it. We are living every policy that's made without our consent, without our being centered in it, without solving our real problems, without it being self-determined, is a colonial policy.
Oh, okay, the show's over.
I was going to clap to that. Thinking about that, it's like the need, and I was like, and that shows up in our schools with the need to still dominate, monitor, and control, our Black youth bodies, our Black children bodies in those spaces.
Yeah. Wow. You know, I got the colonialism term, not term, but it is Chioma that has actually played that on my mind. And as I study and do research, it pops up every now and then. And it's painful to see how the means by which nothing's changed at the end of the day. It feels like it has, right? But it really hasn't, in terms of the way the attempts to suppress our families. And I think what we are, what we find is that, mothers of families in this position of having children who have disabilities find themselves in such a much a unique circumstance that's just beyond, because there's so much risk. Our children aren't even given academic priority. They don't even try to teach our children anything academically. They don't necessarily care about the diploma track for them. Many of Asperger students, for example, or might not even be considered in some realms based on their ability to function, because they can talk and participate well. So you don't, it's, I think it's a really scary prospect when you dig deep and look into it. And so anyway, moving on. One of the things that as I have experienced, I always thought that once I got into a due process complaint or went into a courtroom, that it would be a civil place. And that the bullying would stop and people would be respectful, and I would be right because I'm here. And I have found my way. Everybody shaking their head like, girl, you was tripping. And I was, because then I met Denise. And the thing about Denise's story that was so interesting to me is it included every kind of thing that came up, right? It included the fact that she had areas in her life where she was considered at risk, right? She had concerns of her own. She, like me, is a late blooming mom. We had that in common. And so, she was a little older, and, it was just so many different things that, basically were stacked against her, which made her feel inferior in the conversation. But she did have a wonderful attorney in Cheryl Kay, who empowered her and continued to find ways to keep her feeling empowered and fought alongside her. But one of the most difficult things occurred was during her one of her hearings. Daniel McCall, who was the prosecution for the district, said he felt threatened because they're badgering her baby, and he is disabled, and she is his mother, and she you can't badger him. Like, where's you don't have enough compassion for this child to not put them in a position to badger. So the district is so intent on winning their cases. They're so intent on their record or whatever it is they're trying to do. It's not spend money. I don't know. Whatever it is that they're trying to do, they're so intent on it. They're willing to place a disabled child on the stand and badger to the point, and then perceive his mother as a threat and have her removed from the courtroom. And when I talked to her and she shared this story that she was removed from the courtroom and was not able to participate physically in her son's hearing, she could only do so by phone. She can't protect her baby like that, right? So he's vulnerable. He's alone. This Daniel call put her, Miss Matheny, and her family in a position to where her son was in the courtroom essentially alone without his mother. Therefore, she was unable to advocate for him. And Cheryl, we've talked about it so many times, and unfortunately, Denise was unable to be here today. But it's just another story of, where families find themselves up against the odds. And then when you have at-risk circumstances, they use that against you in such a way that makes you feel like, if you keep fighting, maybe it'll just be worse. Maybe you should stop, you know.
Right.
You know, what can you share?
Miss Matheny's story is really sad because you know, she is an older mom and has some disadvantages, and all she's ever wanted was to see her son make progress, be successful, make something of his life. And we actually sued DCPS twice regarding their neglect of this child. And in our second hearing, when we had Mr. Daniel McCall as the attorney, during the time that he was really berating the student, essentially, as he was testifying, Mom was getting upset. And we could all tell she was getting upset. I was getting upset. I think the hearing officer was getting upset. And the child was very much upset. My objections weren't enough to protect him. And Mom started getting up in her seat. And that's when the hearing officer, his name was Mr. Seat, said, let's take a break. So we all take a break. Me, the mom, and the student calm down together. I tell her, you know, remember, I'm going to fight for you. I'll be the fighter, and you can just let me be the one. I will be your voice. And we go back, and Daniel McCall has his whole briefcase all stacked up, says, I don't feel safe against her. I'm leaving this hearing. The only way we can continue with this hearing is if security comes up and takes Mom out of the building. The hearing officer said, well, wouldn't that be unfair? Can't Miss K just walk her out? He said, no, I insist security needs to be called. So security was called. Elijah was not going to stay without his mom, and he was walked out by security too. I accompanied them. And then Daniel McCall insisted on filing a written complaint with security about her. And mind you, she didn't say a threat. She didn't raise a fist. She was an older Black woman. If you looked at her, you wouldn't be scared of her. I'm telling you, you wouldn't be scared of Miss Matheny. And he said we were allowed to go through with her on the phone. He said for the next day, day 2, he wouldn't return if Miss Matheny was allowed to participate in her hearing in person. He wouldn't be there for that then. So she had to participate by phone for day 2. And also during the hearing, he made up lies about her and would present them. We were able to prove they were all lies, but he would say things like that she had her son sleep out on the porch and wouldn't let him in the house. And it came out that the family didn't even have a porch. So he would try to make her sound like this completely neglectful, horrible mother with his lies. And the thing is, we won this case. We won a good award. We walked away successful, but Miss Matheny to this day is scarred by this. She is embarrassed. She doesn't want to come in front of the nation and tell this story about being walked out. And I wouldn't be telling this story unless I had her permission. Please know that she gave me permission. She wants you to know her story. But this is what they do. And I think that Daniel McCall himself has a history of doing this type of behavior in particular.
Yeah, I actually found some articles where other families called Daniel McCall to the stage for similar types of aggressive behavior, and it's a wonder that the district still has him practicing. And I think one of the things you indicated was that Daniel McCall's behavior is not uncommon among attorneys that represent that office, you know, which is absurd because I don't know, it just feels like they're supposed to be here for us. Right.
They are. The DCPS attorneys are not there for the parents at all for 1 minute of any day.
I don't know. It's painful, and you know, and I was really happy that that we could provide a space for Miss Matheny to at least know that that her frustration was not unique or specific, and that they weren't just treating her like that. They've treated us all like that. But I think for me to learn that it didn't stop once you elevated it above the principal. Once you left the school or whatever, it didn't stop. That same lack of compassion and inappropriate behavior would carry over into the courtroom. That was a surprise to me. And it was truly heartbreaking. And I just can't imagine, but, and I don't know that I would have been able to.
You heard some audio, I believe.
Yeah.
You heard some of the audio of the hearing, and we do have audio. So this is the type of thing, like if for instance a media person were to be interested in this, we have audio of the entire hearing. You can hear her doing nothing and him screaming that she needs to be removed from the court and insisting on security being called. So we have audio of both days of how absurd it was, and we did let Michelle hear some of that audio.
Yeah, I have heard the audio, and it was just unbelievable. I was just thrown. I was really taken aback and deeply saddened by the condition that we are in. Just trying to make sure that we have an appropriate education and a few supports. I think that some of the work that the new council will do to look at the star rating system and some of the things that, are really holding some schools back, maybe there'll be some attempts at equity that won't make us feel like we are having such a struggle, but it is, there's so much inequity across the district, and, families find themselves forced into these fights and battles. And the number of times when I've had someone say, well, what could we do different? I would always say, just insert compassion, just insert some compassion. But that seems to be the one thing they go, oh, well, see, that's the one thing we can't do. That's how it feels, like, oh, we'll buy you something for your son. We'll send you to private school, which, in my opinion, is one of the most egregious things that the district does, because none of those private schools are in Ward 5. Hello. And so now my son would have to be subjected to some long commute to a school that I can't get to at all during the day. And then, in a time like this, for example, because he would not be in the school with anyone from his community, he would never be able to see anyone from that school because it's, 2 hours away. I'm on those DC transportation buses. They take about 90 minutes to go 2 miles. So I can't imagine how long it would take him to get to one of these places in Rockville. So I find that to be the non-public options to be not an option, because it doesn't really permit me to participate in my child's education. It's one of those fake things, right? Like they've given me something, but it's not exactly what I need. It actually hurts and hinders me, but that's not a part of FAPE. They don't owe me the luxury package. They don't owe me something. Chioma, by the way, that's what I am going to write about, is my frustration with this fake FAPE that is actually not a reality for my son. So that'll be my first blog that I will offer you, sister. So I will have it. So anyway, I don't know, thoughts on what Sharon shared. I saw a lot of faces. Teresa, I saw your face like, woof, I can't believe I'm hearing this. You were shaking your head. And Yolanda, she said she triggered. LaJoy is just aghast. Where's your pearls? I know you clutched them.
I got my pearls too, lady.
What? See, it's situations such as this, but this is like the whole point, right? Situations such as that, and you're wondering why we're angry. It's like an oxymoron, contradiction, whatever word you want to use. It's the persistent, right? The consistent traumatic events that keep happening, right? And then society wants to blame. It's like society's blaming you, one, for being a Black woman. So I want to go back to intersectionality real quick, and I may call on Yolanda to help me with this one too. Okay. Y'all need to see Amend. I can't even see Facebook right now. I'm so aghast. I didn't turn the phone off. I don't even know what's happening in these comments, but y'all need to see Amend. Okay, it's on Netflix. I think they had it for Black History. It's narrated by Will Smith. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. And you need to watch the one on women rights. So I just want folks to understand the deep rooted issues that Black mothers and mothers of color are facing. So we have the women's rights movement, right? We're trying to make sure that, that we're seen, right? Because of the 14th Amendment, it says we have all of these liberties. Everyone should, it's about fairness, right? But it's not fair, right? So you got the women's movement. It's like, okay, folks, it's like, all right, girls, get our pearls. Let's go. We're gonna change the system. We're changing the system. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, girl, you Black. Ooh, chap. What kind of women pearls, child? You guys get to the back of the line, honey, because I can't deal with you. You got too many issues going on, so you're gonna need to take it back, right? So you got finally, and Cheryl, I love you. Welcome to the sisterhood. Welcome to the motherhood. But so we have white women moving, right? And even black men, they were moving, right? But Black women were stuck in this place. I know we all know what Malcolm X said. The most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. And that's why it's the intersectionality. It's okay being Black first. It's being a woman first. It's being a mother first. And we're constantly going through these traumatic events. Constantly. It's like there's no stopping it. The system is already stacked against us. I have to work twice as hard to get half of what you have. I have a whole entire master's degree, and I guarantee you the fact that I put my child first, and I may not have certain resources, I'm probably below, I don't even know the federal poverty line, but I don't even make half of the median income for DC family. Yes, I'll put myself out there. The median family income for DC of a family of two is $90-something thousand. I ain't stutter. I see you, Cheryl. $90,000.
I'm sorry. Did you say family of two? Like Joe's? Like
two.
That's right.
One.
Like 1, 2. 1 plus 1?
1 plus 1.
1 plus 1.
1 plus 1. 2.
90,000.
I know y'all saw my child. She came in here earlier. It's only 2 people at 3702, honey. On 2nd Street. Family of 2. That's it. And the median, come on, y'all. Let's put out the literature. The average of what you should be making in DC is $90,000.
That's happening.
I don't even make half.
Yeah.
Because I've decided that I'm gonna put my daughter first. I'm gonna make sure I'm at these IEP meetings. I'm gonna make sure that she does get into a good school. Because when I tried to put her at the school that was around the corner from me, you told her no. And not only did you tell me no, that she can't even go to another school within the LEA. Yes, DCPS, I'm referring to you. Just saying, you tell me she can't go. So I got no job. I'm in school. I'm borderline homeless. My child can't go here. We have multiple disabilities because we were born at 23 weeks at 1 pound and 6 ounces. So we're dealing with all of these different traumatic events, and you're wondering why I'm angry. So what do? You get smart. You play the game and you infiltrate. But this is how you do it, ladies. You don't infiltrate by yourself. This is how we infiltrate. We infiltrate through the system. Like my daughter's crawling, like I don't see her. That's how you do it. Sometimes you got to get loud. Sometimes you got to ask somebody, do you need support? Do you need my support? Sometimes you got to clap to somebody. Do you need my support, America? Because I think you're trying me. But then there are times where you got to get out. You got to get out those books. You got to get out those procedural safeguards, and you got to learn that law. You got to contact your Parent Training Information Center. You got to vote certain folks in. You have to infiltrate the entire system because that is the problem. It's the entire system. You got to get with the motherhood. You got to get with the PTIs. You got to get in the community. You got to get in the policy side. And if you think you don't need to get into that research side, you're wrong. You got to get into the research too, because half of the system is based on that research. So that way they can say, oh, sorry, not sorry. We don't have the facts and we don't have the research and all these other things to actually create the policies. Guess what? We're working on infiltrating that too. So that's what you have to do. You have to infiltrate the whole system. We got to get smart, but we have to do it together. So when I'm coming to you for help, whether I don't care if you're white or black, show some empathy. If you don't know the resources, please put me in touch with, or families, put the family in touch with somebody who can. Don't just sit up here and further perpetuate trauma, because that's what we're already in, a traumatic system. We know that. And if we're, and hello, cancel culture, if we're going to cancel this culture, then baby, we need to cancel the whole culture and start off with a clean canvas, because all of it is part of systematic racism. So since we're not going to do that, we have to move strategically. And I'm finished my rant. I think I
wonder if residents in Ward 8 wish that LaJoy Johnson, law future Dr. LJL, was their State Board of Education representative right now. Because I mean, like, whoo, mother.
I think God has different plans. I think, I think God has different plans. I think it's about Ward 8, which is primarily African American, but I think it's about DC, and I think it's about national. So as God says, we gotta go big or go home, folks, and we gotta infiltrate the system, and that's how we break it down. You got to get into every nook of it, and then bring us to its knees, and then ask them, do you need my support?
Do you need my support? Well, we are we're getting to the end of our time, and so I would like to open up for last words.
Well, I definitely want to chime in right quick if I could squeeze in a little bit.
Please.
I mean, tell you, these ladies, y'all is on fire out here. I was thinking about, man, Chioma, I just love you. I just love all your wisdom and knowledge, honey. You were sitting there talking about this colonialism, and I was sitting there like, what? She is so right. This is where it all started from, when they took us. Someone said, why is it that the Black woman so angry? Why are they so intimidated by the Black woman? Why is a Black woman so disrespected? Because we is the creation of all humanity. I mean, this is where it started at, in the Black woman. And us Black women out there, and us women of color, I'm all kind of color. It's so funny. Let me show y'all something. Oh, Lord, let me see. Make sure I have it right here. I want to show y'all something. As pale as I am, I had one of them DNA tests done, right? I want to show y'all this. Y'all ain't going to believe this. As pale as I am, can y'all see this? All of my ancestry is right from Africa. I am Africa. You see Virginia and Maryland right there? That's where they took us, right? That's where they took us from, over there. You see them? And I started thinking about it. I said, that's powerful. That's rich. That's rich. Can't y'all tell me nothing out there no more? So all y'all light-skinned ladies out there, just know. But no, really though, us women of color, we just need to first just come in and to harness our strength, our ancestral strengths, because this time and season right now, we are rising, and we have arisen. Look at all these women right here. And yes, LaJoy, God got a whole nother plan for you, honey, and it ain't even began just yet. Okay. And so, we ask the question of, well, what can we do from here? We know about everything that's wrong, why we angry, why we upset, all this, that, and that, but what we gonna do now, right? What is us Black women, Black mothers gonna do out here now? Well, we're gonna stand up now, and we're gonna put our people in those positions. We're gonna harness our anger and transform it back into power. We're gonna start creating our businesses and get out of the system and play them at their own game in this system. Right, because you got to really understand and wake up. If ain't nobody ever seen The Matrix, please watch that, because it's very real on so many levels, more than just one. And I would beg to just, I think we all could agree here that being poor or being poverty stricken in America is a disability in itself, because it locks you out of access an opportunity. And so many of us are feeling like it's nothing there, we can't do nothing, and we're afraid, so we keep to ourselves trying to find a way. But it takes organizations and groups and panels and people to come together to show that there is strength. When we come together, we can bring our resources together. Who said we had to rely on this system in the first place? And I want to be the first one here to tell y'all to challenge. I challenge every person to come out your comfort zone. Stop trying to wait for somebody to do it, and let us all come together and make a new way. We can teach our own kids. We can bring our own resources together. The only way we're going to take them down by their knees is for us to come out there and go get what it is that they think that they have. We are the future capitalists of America, period, point blank. And we're going to do it for our people, for our children. It's so funny to me because when we were talking earlier, and y'all have brought up how like it's our people that be hurting us. When I was at my kids' school, that school was predominantly African American. And I was their best buddy as long as I could bring in their money and get their sponsorships for them. But you know what? Just like LaJoy, I had my struggle too, right? I had my fall from grace. And when I did, I got smacked with a horrible, traumatic event that took all my focus off of everything and put it right on the most important thing, which was my children. You know, and we end up struggling through homelessness, being a top tier 20% in the country, fell down to my ruins and build my way back up. But you know what? If I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's not that hard. You just got to know the keys, know the secrets. And we need to start sharing to each other how we're going to access those things and get into that other side of the coin. So that way we can build our own forts, you know, and build our own schools and get into real estate and get our own buildings. We don't need this broken system. The system is done and over with. I want to give it back. Here, take it back. Take it back. Take it back. There's new leaders. There's new women. We are the future. So I'm so thankful for every single woman up here that had the courage and the audacity to even come forward to speak their truth and be just so transparent, because it takes a lot of courage to go through that. You know, and I hope that people that are out there listening, that you get motivated to start telling your stories. Let us start coming together, because they got us confused. And the only way that we're going to be free is through the power of education, of enlightening each and every person out here and uplifting each and every single one of us out here, because we can do it and we will do it. What about Barack Obama? Oh, I murdered his name. Lord, forgive me. But he's talking about the change, right? The change. We are the change. You know, we don't got to keep waiting. It's right here, right now. And I'm looking at these women that's right here, right now. And there's other of us right here, right now, able to make this change happen today. Not 10, 15 years down the line. We need to get them people that don't act and think like us out of them seats, because they only supposed to be there anyways for 2 years. They just sitting there too long. I don't know what they talking about. There's so much money out here. We could give it right back to everybody, and there's still enough.
Amen, so amen.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all our Black women. I love y'all. Yes.
We love you. And we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you, Teresa and Rashonda and Cheryl, for joining us and for sharing your wisdom and contributing to the dialogue. We really appreciate it. As we go to the home stretch, I like to give our mothers an opportunity for last words. So, Mother LaJoy Johnson-Law, you kind of just dropped the mic a minute ago, but do you have any last words?
You know, just first of all, I just love y'all, you know, love We the Motherhood, and just love all the ladies here. And I just want to give a special shout out to Cheryl for sharing Mom's story. I know that was difficult to share. Brie, I'm almost done. You know what I'm saying? To share like that. And please let her know there's nothing for her to be ashamed about. She's home. This is why We the Motherhood even exist, right?
Exactly. And
angry.
I've led her to you all, and I'm so thankful for this group, because I have so many moms that need you all to help support them. It's great to have a lawyer, but to have a team of mothers who understand, I think, makes a huge difference. So thank you for having me on. And I mean, I think you're all great. And I also love AJE like you all do as well.
Yes. So we thank you, Cheryl. Thank you everyone for joining. And just, we are the motherhood. You know, please like, share, and subscribe this. I think I took Yolanda's line.
So Yolanda, she took your line.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Let me pass it to Yolanda. This is Mother
we just been spending too much time together. We just been spending too much time.
I got one job.
Yolanda, folks. Wait a minute. I
got one job.
I got one job, and you ready to take everybody's job, ma'am? Can we please? Can we the motherhood? Excuse us. You gotta get some behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. Sometimes it's real raw and uncut. I thank you for your patience as I talk to my colleague. Thank you, ma'am. As the young lady said, please like, share, subscribe. We're on all of your social media platforms. Thank God we're building. Don't judge us. We're working on it. We heard the call. We're answering it. So it's going to take time to build to the expectation. But I'm sitting here and I'm shifting. I'm working to shift my emotions. I've been triggered. I've been inspired. I've been empowered. I've had a roller coaster ride tonight. I don't know about nobody else, but it's for me in my house. I'm distraught. but I leave hopeful for the simple fact that I heard a call to action. And so that is my charge tonight, to remind people of the call to action that you've heard throughout these traumatic stories, that there is a movement that needs to happen past just showing up in the courtroom, past just showing up to your leaders, past just showing up to your council members. Listen, LaJoy and I have been engulfed in the Netflix special, and I repeat it again because the chat asked for it. It's called Amend, The Fight for America. If you have never been inspired to understand what we're really dealing with past Real Housewives of Atlanta or Kim and Kanye getting a divorce, yeah, I know y'all looking. I know you keeping up with the Kardashians, but let me help you keep up with your life and everybody else's life. We struggling out here, Black people. Okay, people, period. Because it's really not about race, it's about socioeconomics. But that's a whole nother conversation. Race is just a part of it that keeps us distracted. You know what I mean? And so my call to action is simple. Is that, you continue telling your story. We don't expect for people to do what we're doing. It takes a lot of internal healing and self-reflection to get to this point where you want to be able to be transparent about your experiences and going through these things over and over again. I know a lot of people perceive us as having the answers. We are still dealing with some of these issues that we are standing here to advocate against. I heard 2 to 3 people talk about homelessness. And if you add me to it, that'll make 4 or even the third. I'm dealing with potential homelessness with my 3 children. And it's not because it's not for lack of education. I've been educated, some college is what I check off on my application. But I'm still qualified, and I have a desire to be better than what my narrative is because of my skin color or because of my zip code. And so I think that right now it's just a call as to how desperate are you to get change in your household, and how tired of going to these pity parties talking about what happened to us, that you'll start showing up in spaces where they don't expect you to show up at. People tired of telling their story, but it's a trick. It's a forced shame because word of mouth works in the Black community. That's how we communicate. If something bad happened to us, girl, don't go over there because you're going to get bit up by that dog. And then what happens? People don't even know. The dog dead, gone for 50 years, and people still avoiding that corner because of what we said. Don't go on that corner. Listen, people, the only way that our people have gotten change and respectful change, sustainable change, is when we showed up and showed out. So can you be angry? Yes. Strategically angry is what you need to be. And so I will continue to be in the streets. This platform is nice, but catch me in the streets, empowering my people and knocking on the doorsteps of these people who want to call me counselors, especially the ones that look like me. Because y'all been, they've been using us against us for a long time. Gatekeepers.
You better speak, mother. Call them out. Call them out. We calling you out.
We running on the timeline. But when we call y'all to action, I hope you show up. Because it's Friday night. And I love you ladies, but I gotta go. So don't forget to like us, subscribe. I don't know what I normally say. I don't know what a like will do, but I know what a share will do. A share will ensure that somebody else will hear this power and will join us in this fight so that you won't have to cry these tears alone and we can get some action going, okay? And I love y'all. And I'm gone. Chioma, it's on you.
Well, hold on. I do. Oh, God. You're funny. Okay. All right, let me compose myself. What I want to say is that We the Motherhood will be back on April 9th. And our topic will be Mother as the highest title. And I insert that here as I give the last words to Mother Dr. Chioma Oru, because in one of our very early conversations, the mother broke down mother, the power in place and role, and the mother supreme, right? She broke that down to be coming from the diaspora, and it was everything. It was everything as a Black woman, as a Black mother, to learn that that African history associated with the role of mother, and we know that parents have power, and we know that we need to lift up and celebrate womanhood, and our role as mother has to be lifted, and those titles need to be exalted in that way. And so she dropped it. I don't know. We went on, and Yolanda and LaJoy joined, and I said, "Hold on, we talking about something else. Hold on." And I mean, I can't wait for Mother Dr. Oru to share that that as a lesson for us. And so, with that said, we'll welcome you back on April 9th to explore that topic with us, and talk about how that plays into special education environment and the role of parent. But with that said, Mother Dr. Oru, you have the last word.
Wow, that's a lot. It's a weight. And, I just love y'all so much. Like, I can be burnt out, extremely like dragged and tired, and come in here and just feel like rejuvenated and restored and replenished. And so I love y'all so deep, so tough. I mean, you don't even know, right? Like, I think that, all of this is beautiful. It's so powerful, right? Like, I'm glad we exist, because I wish this was here when I started my journey, right? Like, and we do have a tall service. We do have a tall order, to whom much is given, much is required. I do want to say that, an aspect of colonialism that I don't want us to forget is that it's a system. I mean, it's a system like any system, and I don't want us to get all boogeyman about the man and stuff. It's a system. That means it's a function that can be changed, that can be shifted, that can be restructured, and that truly anyone can oppress if the system is wrong. That's why we shouldn't be confused when Black people in positions of power within a Eurocentric, patriarchal, white supremacist system oppress. We shouldn't be confused. They're just assuming the roles that are there, and that any one of us could be put in a position where we oppress somebody else, right? So we always have to be vigilant and aware that it's not outside of us, it's inside of us. And to that is where the power is, right? And to that is where birth occurs. When that poem, Butterfly, where it came from in my 20-something-year-old mind, when I wasn't even really understanding what it truly meant, was that I understood like there is a pattern to life. Like we die and we're reborn, right? Like there's no ending. We will go through homelessness and we will be housed. We will survive if we keep just moving one foot in front of the other. And there is a system response to that too. And that's why I am so committed to building the school behavioral health system as just one articulation of where we could find our power, and to make that accessible to all of our families, to all of our kids. Give us the opportunity. No one taught me as a child that it was righteous to be angry. Right? No one gave me that permission where there was an okay place, and we do it to ourselves, right? We control our children so that we are not exposing them to danger and survival. But what we're also doing in that process of not teaching them how to be balanced and seeing the world as it is that we're teaching them how not to stand up, right? That we can stand up and be balanced. We can stand up and be true, and that we show up as we are because we are. I am that I am that I am. God made me, you didn't. So relax, right? And that's the truth, right? And so I really love, just the space and the spirit to whoever needed to hear everything that we have all shared here tonight. Like a luta continua, we have this work in front of us. We have the power with us, and we will win everything we want to win. So what do you want to win? What do you want to win?
Chima, I don't know what you just said, but it invoked something in my spirit. I had to rock in my chair for a second. What was it you just said? I need to know what's being spoken over my life.
I think LaJoy almost passed out a little bit too.
I did. I'm like, is that Latin? I'm like, wait a minute, she better come.
I was over there like Wakanda.
She ain't mother doctor for nothing.
I don't know about the nothing. I don't know about the juju, right? Like y'all don't know about that Naija stuff, right? Like it's in us. It's truly us. We are it, right?
I might be part Nigerian, sis, because that touched the spirit. That touched the part
you
of
might be. We need to track our lineage like Nakia did. We might be. And listen. With that said, my name is Michelle T. Parrish, Mother Supreme. They call me. Amen. And we'll see you again on April 9th. And now we shall go out in the way that we always do. Everyone can come off mute. LaJoy, if you could lead us in our good night salutation.
You know I'm ready.
I know you're ready. I know you're ready.
Everybody hands up.
Okay. We the Motherhood March 5th. Hands up.
Hands up. All right. And so on 3, the instructions. So on 3, we're going to go like this, and we're going to say, we are the motherhood. Okay. You ready? 1, 2, 3. We
are.
Bye, you guys.
Bye. We out. 1, 2, 3 in broadcast.